From our education to our democracy to healthcare and the environment, when you think of the tough questions you want answered, there's only one person that comes to mind: Kal Penn. He's diving into some of America's most complex issues in his new show, Kal Penn Approves This Message, and we're so excited to catch up with him now. How you doing, Kal?
Yeah, good. How are you?
It's good. It's great to meet you here. Kal Penn Approves This Message. What message does Kal Penn approve?
Well, obviously, it is a pun on candidates' ads, right? The message that we're approving is a comedy-forward, issue-specific show that's nonpartisan, which I feel like we haven't seen in a long time, if ever. It's based on two shows I really love, two formats I really love. Love The Daily Show. I love how funny it is. I also have an old man heart, so I love CBS Sunday Morning and how good that makes you feel. So we basically wanted to make a feel-good show. So that's the message we're approving, is there is so much room for civility, for an opportunity to laugh and learn about particular issues as we're thinking about who we might want to vote for in the next election.
Were there any topics doing the show that was eye-opening, or you learned? Like, I feel like I forget my history so much from when I was in elementary school. Was there anything where you were like surprised to learn something new for you?
Yeah, there were two things in particular. I mean, the first two episodes. So the first one was the voting age is 18. It used to be 21 because in 1971, the 26th Amendment passed. And that's all I knew. I didn't know that the point of origin for that was World War II. So that's decades before it actually got achieved, because young people were pushing through saying, we just came back from World War II. You know, friends of ours died for our freedom and we're not allowed to vote. And then it took that long for the 26th Amendment to get passed. Like, I take that for granted, right? I took that for granted when I registered to vote for the first time. So I've learned a lot about that. Our second episode is about education. So we're looking at trade school versus college. There's a cable news version of this, which is like, trade school is like the stronger worker. College, that's just the elites. And then the flip side of that is, no, that's for people who are smart. It's like, stop, guys. None of those two things are true. The reality is that both need to work together, because automation is what's taking a lot of young people's jobs into the future. And countries like India and China and Brazil are investing in STEM alternatives to this. So what are we going to do, right? And we're not telling anybody who to vote for, but it's like, we should think about what's happening down the line for us. So I learned a ton about that too, and I enjoyed that.
Let's talk about voting, because I love that you're promoting voting, especially for young people. What does it mean to you to do a show that really is pushing that above everything else right now?
Yeah, look, there's so many first-time voters. Every year there's so many first-time voters, right? It's the only demographic group that ages out of your demo and is replaced with new people. So there's a lot of passion out there, so many issues. It's not just going to be a presidential election. It's going to be who wins the House, the Senate, who's winning in your state assembly races, local, school board, all that stuff. Young people have been really active across the board on so many issues that if they actually show up, you can change what our country looks like. You can change what your community looks like. It used to be that it's like, oh, you need like 30 million people to show up to change the face of the country, which is like really only less than 10% of the country, not that big of a number. But it's not even that. It's like elections are being decided by 10 people, 12 people, depending on the election and the district that you're in or the local nature of it. So it's like, it's no longer just this idea of, yeah, if I stay home, the same thing will probably happen. That's not true anymore. And it's also not true. Like, we get this question a lot from a lot of young voters. I'm a progressive in Alabama, or I'm a conservative in New York City. My vote probably doesn't matter, right? And it's like, no, you should still vote. It does matter, because if the conservative vote increases in a place like New York City, people who represent New York City are still going to have to take that into account when they're proposing policy. Same thing, if you're a progressive in Alabama, you jumped that number by 5%. That means that the people who represent you are still going to have to be aware that there's something that shifted, that accounted for that shift in what people believe. So it's never a wasted vote.
Do you feel like this generation of younger people are a lot more informed?
We have so much more access to information that can be both good or bad. The US government has 3 branches, all of which are designed to operate slowly on purpose, because we're a democracy, not a dictatorship. That's very different than how good it feels to tweet something nasty at somebody. So we're trying to find the midpoint there, where it's like, okay, how do you reckon with the fact that our technology allows us quick dialogue and access to information, but our government is purposely slow? Like, what does that mean? How do we research and present issues in a way that's accessible to everybody?
Yeah, and let's hope Twitter never becomes a branch of the government.
Yeah, right.
Well, I love everything you do, and I feel like a lot of people are going to love this and learn a lot from this. So thank you for making this.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.
Well, you can catch Kal Penn Approves This Message every Tuesday night at 10:30 p.m. on Freeform, and available the next day on Hulu.